Good day, all. Last time we spoke about the planning cycle in government, policy development, and legislation. I said I will start with the planning process, and we will continue with that today. Remember what I said. All political parties have manifestos, party manifestos, which they use to garner support during elections. Then after the elections, the party that wins the elections, the majority party, then prepares itself to govern. And then they take their party manifesto and translate it into priorities for a country. The priorities for the country then are applicable to all citizens of the country and not just to party members. So it's important for everyone to understand that once you represent a country as a majority party, you represent all its citizens. So the party manifesto must speak to the needs and wants of the citizens who are taxpayers. Having said that, when government departments meet, they have to look at those policy priorities that are going to lead the process of planning in their respective departments. So what happens? It's important to pay attention to this matter because it speaks directly to us as taxpayers. So each government department will take those policy priorities, go to a department lekgotla or strategic planning session. In that planning session, they have to use and select priorities that are relevant to that department's mandate or state entity mandate. So it's important, therefore, that you have very good strategic planners. Good strategic planners will make it possible for everyone in a department or in a state-owned entity to be able to formulate or customize those policy priorities to the policy priorities that are informed by the mandate of that department. So what happens? Ministers come back from cabinet with the approval of these policy priorities of the country. These policy priorities of the country are captured in a document called the Medium-Term Strategic Framework. The Medium-Term Strategic Framework is available from the Department of Monitoring and Planning based in the Presidency. So what's important is that because the ministers are political principals and are the custodians of these policy priorities, the planning process gets started by the minister sharing with the department the minister's policy statement. So what happens before the minister's policy statement is presented? People who work in the planning unit of the department must liaise with the staff in the ministry and start the drafting process of the minister's policy statement that will kickstart the process of planning. Why is this minister's policy statement important? It is important because it basically summarizes some of the policy priorities from the list of policy priorities that are key to planning or to kickstart the planning process. So what happens? The minister that is responsible for the particular department will have to make sure that what's in the policy priorities of the state is captured in his or her policy statement. For example, if you are a Department of Health, you have to select from the list which policy priority is applicable to your mandate. And therefore, when the minister staff and the departmental staff are drafting the policy statement of the minister, they have to take into consideration what is captured in the medium-term strategic framework or what is captured in the key policy priorities of the country. That's very, very important. That's why when you go and present your strategic plan and the annual performance plan in Parliament, the ministers normally are there to present, but they don't actually present. Officials present, but the minister's presence is key and very, very important because there will be political questions that the political principal must answer, which officials must steer clear of them. But also, the officials as technocrats are there to support the minister to make sure that anything pertaining to the operations of the department, all those officials can be able to present to Parliament. Now, the minister's policy statement is ready. So, the process of planning in any government department then must start. There would have been, anyway, throughout the year, interaction with National Treasury. But once that policy statement is done, the officials have to make sure that the Planning and Budget Committee of the department meets and discuss what is going to happen. To simplify this matter, you will find that in a department there would be a unit called Strategic Management. Strategic Management unit, together with the Finance unit, have to work together closely to kickstart the process of planning. Why? Because both these units are custodians of the planning process of the department in support of the Director General. Remember, the Director General is the Chief Executive of the department. But it is these two units that are, let me call them, runners. They run the operations of what needs to be done to support the Director General. So they have to meet these two units and they have to discuss what is available in terms of the budget from National Treasury that will inform what the department has to do or has to write in their strategic plan, which is 5 years, and their annual performance plan. By the time they meet, the finance unit and the strategic management unit, the finance unit would have been engaging with National Treasury various times because there are other processes that are led by the finance unit pertaining to the budget. Because National Treasury would like to know, for example, how much you have spent for the year ending before they can actually give you budget for the next financial year. So they have to assess how much you have spent in that particular year and whether the commitments in your annual performance plan have been met and you have spent the budget. That is very key for National Treasury because if you have not spent the money on the programs or on the activities that are captured in your annual performance plan, then you have to have a serious conversation with National Treasury and convince National Treasury that you will be able to spend the money or the budget in the following year. Assuming that you have not convinced National Treasury that you will be able to spend the money, and assuming that there isn't much money around, so National Treasury may review the allocations to your department to make sure that other departments that have spent their money can get more so that they continue to spend and deliver services to South Africans. So it's important to note that you have to spend the money. So in your annual performance plan, make sure that you commit to what you are able to deliver in that particular year. Because if you cannot, and National Treasury picks up that you are not making a formidable argument to them, they may take away the budget they've allocated to you and give it to another department that is spending that money. That's why planning is so important. Planning is so important, and it's not a buzzword. You've got to sit as a group of executives in a government department, plan, interrogate the policy priorities of the state, make sure that you align them to your budget, and then make sure that the programs or the activities of your department are actually informed by the budget that you are going to get from National Treasury for that particular year. Now, I have said two units play a key role: strategic management and finance. Finance would have been going to National Treasury. It's a toing and froing situation, telling National Treasury that this is how much we have spent, this is how much we need for the following year, or the finance unit, together with the strategic management unit, go to National Treasury to say, we couldn't spend 40% of the budget because of these reasons, but we still need our money, so we'll continue to spend the money in the following financial year. It's important that this matter is noted because planning is the key word. You have to plan because remember, the state has many competing needs. There are many competing programs competing for the same budget. So it's important that what you commit to in the annual performance plan is delivered. Now, National Treasury has to make sure that between June and at least June, July, August, those submissions between government departments and National Treasury, those submissions and interaction about the planning process, about the budgeting process are taking place. Because somewhere in August, National Treasury, or August and September, National Treasury, if you recall in my previous video, I spoke about the medium-term budget policy statement. As National Treasury is doing this interaction with government departments, they are capturing all the information so that they are able to actually go and present to Parliament what is called the medium-term budget policy statement. It is that budget policy statement that Parliament must approve and interact with a document from National Treasury. All MPs must interact through their various committees and chairs and make sure that they send feedback to National Treasury that we have read your medium-term budget policy statement that gets presented by the Minister of Finance every October, and we agree with what you have presented to us in Parliament as MPs, or we think you need to tweak here and there and add more there or take away what is captured there. But that process is just rolling, and it's important to note that the process cannot be reversed because the process, it entails the financial or the budgeting process of the state. So as National Treasury is busy with the budgeting process, all government departments, as I have said, must be busy with their planning documents and interacting with National Treasury. It's actually a very exciting interactive process, and it's a process that